Hi everybody, I'm Ashley, owner and designer at Kismet Crochet. Today's video tutorial will be a supplement to the PDF for my Checkered Crossbody Belt Bag. The video will go over the fundamental steps such as working the Tunisian Simple Stitch, working color changes to create this checkerboard pattern, and the construction steps to attach the zipper and sew in the lining. For exact stitch and row counts, you'll want to purchase the PDF, which is linked in the description below. If you are new to Tunisian crochet, don't let this intimidate you, as through the pattern and the video tutorials, I'm going to walk you through all the steps. If you are wanting some additional support before starting, I do encourage you to watch my tutorials on Tunisian crochet and specifically the Tunisian Simple Stitch. And these links will be provided in the description below as well. For the Checkered Crossbody Belt Bag, these are the materials you're going to be working with. You're going to be using a Tunisian crochet hook, size 4mm. You're only going to need 2 balls of yarn, which is nice. We're going to be working in the Yarn Bee Fundamental Cotton. This is a number 4 100% mercerized cotton yarn. 1 ball in black and 1 ball in this taupe colorway, which they call camel. And it's a really nice yarn. It has a little bit of a twisted finish, slight sheen, and it's really sturdy and it will clean really well. So it'll spot clean if you get something on your bag. It's really a great choice. You're going to need a metal parachute buckle along with the slide for a 1-inch strap. You're going to need a 9-inch zipper. If you're having trouble sourcing your zipper, I did find some great ones on zippershipper.com. That's where I got this one. You're going to need a tapestry needle for sewing in those loose ends. And then if you choose to line your bag, you'll need a 1/4 yard of 100% cotton fabric. These come already cut. They call them fat quarters for quilting. Super affordable, super easy to source. So that's a great choice. And then some black sewing thread and needle. Now there is a little bit of sewing throughout this, but I will walk you through it. If you absolutely hate sewing, you could use some fabric glue and utilize that and see how that works for you. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to be splitting our balls of yarn. So we want to split this camel into 2 balls and the black into 2 balls. If you choose, you just don't want to do that, the other option is you can buy 2 balls of black and 2 balls of the camel. But just for cost effectiveness, it's really easy. Go ahead and split the balls and then we'll meet back up with you and start. So I've split our black yarn into 2 balls and our camel yarn into 2 balls. I do find it works best if you put a black and a camel yarn on your right side and then a black and a camel on your left side. We are going to be doing some color changes, so it does help and just not get as twisted on each other. So we're first going to be starting doing the front panel. So here's a finished piece of the front panel. And we're going to be working it vertically like this. When we're done, we'll turn it sideways for the bag, but working it, we're going to be working from the side to side vertically. So first, start with your black yarn on the right and make a slip stitch on your hook. We are working with that Tunisian crochet hook. We're going to go ahead and chain 28. Okay, that's 28 chains. So now we're going to be working on our foundation row. So for the foundation row, we are going to work stitches all the way across. That's called the forward pass, and the loops will remain on the hook, and then we will work them off the hook on the closing pass on the way back. So we're going to jump right in and start our checkerboard pattern right away. So go ahead and insert your hook in that first chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, and we're going to do this to the next 5, so we have a total of 7 loops on our hook of the black yarn. There's 5, 6, and 7. And I know typically they say best practice is to turn your chain and work in that back bump, but that's a little tricky for this. It's hard to see with a black yarn, and really it's not necessary. It's really easier just to catch that top loop of the chain. So go ahead and just do that. Once we have 7 of the black loops on our hook, we're going to drop that black yarn, and we're going to go in the next chain. But now we're going to get our camel yarn from the right side, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we're going to work the next 6 chains till we have a total of 7 of those camel loops on our hook. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we want to drop that camel yarn, and we're going to be working in black again. So insert your hook in the next chain, but this time we're going to be using black from our ball on our left side. Working with 2 balls of each color really helps reduce the amount of dragging across the back of your work, so you don't have as many yarns floating. So pull that through. Now working with that second ball, same thing. Pull up a loop in the next 7 chains. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 7. Drop that black, and now we're going to finish with the camel. Same thing, we're going to use the ball from our left side and pull up a camel loop in the last 7 chains. I know this is looking really messy, so don't let it overwhelm you. It will get easier as we go. It's usually just the first couple rows that are the most difficult because we have so many yarns coming off. We also have our yarn tails. So there you go. That's our forward pass of our first row. We should have 7 black, 7 camel, 7 black, and then 7 camel. And again, I know that there's yarns everywhere. We're just going to ignore the yarn tails for now. After we get a couple rows done, we'll come back and we'll weave those in and get those out of the way. So now we're going to do our closing pass. So you're going to continue with that camel. We're going to work these loops off our hook. For the first stitch, we always yarn over and only go through 1. After that, we yarn over and go through 2. We continue to yarn over and pull through 2 across. It's only that first stitch that we yarn over and only pull through 1 stitch. So come across with your camel until you have 1 camel loop and then a black. That's when you know it's time to do your color change. So drop that camel, pick up the black on your left side, and you can see it right here. It's going to be right there. You're just going to turn it and get that black. These are going to get kind of loose. You can see that getting kind of loopy. Don't worry about it. You can kind of pull it tight. It's going to be fine. Yarn over, continue to pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. Total of 7 times, and that will bring you to your color change. It's really easy to see visually because you know it's time to do a color change when 1 black and 1 camel, 1 of each color. You're going to drop that black, and then we're going to pick up the camel, but we're going to be picking up this camel here from our right side, which you can see right here. Just turn to your back and you can see which one to pick up, and you kind of just follow that. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 across. And pull through 2. I know you can probably see these getting really loopy right here. The color changes, don't worry. You can just pull on those and pull them snug. And we'll do that as we go. As we drop those yarns and pick them back up, we'll just tighten them at that time. So now we have one of each color. We know it's time to change to our black. Turn and we see that black coming off right there. That's the one we're going to be working with. Yarn over, pull through 2, across. Okay, so that's our first row, which I know looks a bit of a mess. I'm going to tighten these, pull these yarn tails down so you can actually see what we've got going. All right, messy yarns make it look more complicated than it is. All right, so there you go. There's our first row, our foundation row. We should have a black camel, and then we're going to continue doing a couple more rows, then we'll come back and tie in these yarn tails. So continue with your black. And the first loop that's left on your hook will always be the first stitch of the next row. So this loop is going to be your first stitch lining up with right there. So we're going to be doing Tunisian Simple Stitch in the next 7 stitches, which for this first one will actually be 6 because this counts as 1. And for the Tunisian Simple Stitch, you're going to be going under these vertical bars. I know it's really hard to see in the black, but right here in the camel, these are the vertical bars we're going to be going under. You're going to be working on the surface of your work going from right to left, right under that bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. Under the vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you can do that in the next 6 stitches, again, so you have 7 loops on your hook. And then drop that black. Let's get that one out of the way a little bit. And then we're going to pick up the camel. So we can kind of just look and see, okay, that's the one hanging off. And we're going to pick that one up and continue. We're going to go under this bar. And right here you can see it got really loopy. No big deal. Just pull it snug. And Tunisian Simple Stitch in the next 7 with the camel yarn. Drop that. And now we're going to be picking up the black, but from our left side, our left ball of yarn. Tunisian Simple Stitch in the next 7 with that other black ball of yarn. Drop the black and then pick up your last camel and finish the Tunisian Simple Stitch in the last 7 with the camel yarn. Okay, so there we have our forward pass of our second row. We're going to go ahead and close all those stitches. So same as before, continue with your camel, yarn over and just pull through 1, and then continue the rest of the way, yarn over and pull through 2. Drop the camel and pick up the black. When I pick that up, I just pull it a little snug, not super tight. And as you see, I do that. This one gets loopy, not a big deal. When we come back around, we'll tighten it right back up. And then pick up your black and finish your last 7. There we go. We can tighten these, and that's your row 2. Go ahead and do one more row of the Tunisian Simple Stitch in the same pattern we've been doing, and then we'll meet back up and tie in these yarn tails at the bottom. Okay, I've just finished my 3rd row of the checkerboard pattern. Right now our work is looking like quite a mess with strings hanging off everywhere. So now that we have a little bit of a foundation established here, we can go ahead and take our tapestry needle and just thread our yarn tails. And what we want to do is just weave those in on the back and trim them off and get rid of those. So really after that, we'll just have to contend with the top 4. So just thread your needle, take it to the back and just weave in and then trim off. So go ahead and do that for all your yarn tails. It'll make it so much easier. And then I want you to do 2 more rows of the checkerboard pattern the same exact way we've been doing it. And then I'm going to meet back up with you because we're going to end up doing a color change where we're alternating that checker pattern. I finished my 5th row of the checkerboard pattern. And you can see that it curls a bit. So Tunisian crochet has a tendency to curl, so don't worry about that. We'll actually block this before constructing it into a bag. So just ignore that roll, but we did tie off and weave in those yarn tails, which made it a lot easier to work with. So now we have our 4 blocks, but we're ready to do a color change. We have a black square here, and now on top we're going to want to do a taupe square and alternate these for that checkerboard effect. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that. So right here, same as I was telling you before, that first loop of the next row, that loop left on your hook is the first stitch of the next row. But we actually are going to pull this out. We want to stop, just like before for our color changes, when there's 2 loops left on your hook. So if you know you're going to do a color change the next row, leave those last 2, and then we are going to pull over the taupe. So we are going to be floating this yarn behind our work. We're going to be using the taupe from the first ball of yarn on the right, and we're going to be pulling it over here and utilizing it. We're going to have it floating behind our work. And then when we go to making a black square, we're going to do the same thing with this one. It's going to float over this way. We're not going to pull these over here though. We're going to do the same floats with these 2, keeping these yarns on our left side and these yarns on our right side. So 2 loops left on the hook. We're going to take that taupe because we know we want the next one to start out with taupe, yarn over, and then pull through. And you're just going to mess with this tension. So we don't want it too tight like that. We also don't want it too gappy. So usually I pull it through and then I just kind of hold it and I might adjust it. I want it just straight, but not too much slack, just like that. Once I have a good tension I like, I just continue. Go under that vertical bar, just like you've been doing, and pull up a loop. Next 7. Okay, now we're ready for our black. So we're going to drop that, and we're going to be pulling this black right here. So this black, we're just going to float it. So under this first vertical bar of the taupe, and then we're going to grab that black and pull it through. Same thing with the tension. We don't want it too tight, we don't want it too loose. So you can kind of play with it. If it's too tight, you can kind of pull it. If it's too loose, so you get a good tension. So you will see these on the back of your work in a few places, but it's not a big deal. It's going to look pretty clean. And if you end up lining your bag, they're going to be hidden anyways. So grab that black and continue across, pulling up in the next 7. So those 2 yarn balls on the right are going to always stay on your right. They're going to switch, but they'll always stay over there and just be working the first 2 squares of the checkerboard. Okay, so we're going to drop that, and these yarns are going to stay over there. Now we're going to go, and we want a taupe square. It's going to go into that first vertical bar and turn it, and we're going to be pulling this taupe right here. Same thing, we're going to float it behind our work. Just grab that, pull it. See, I don't even worry that's too tight, because once it's on there, I just adjust where I want it, hold it, and then continue. Okay, and now we're ready for our black. Now this is where you want to be careful, because these two blacks are coming out of around the same area. So you want to make sure you grab the right one. So this black is for our right side, and this black is for our left side, which you can tell because it is a little bit more to the left. So make sure you grab the correct black. See? Go under that vertical bar. And then, actually, we're going to move that behind and pull through. You're going to always check that tension. You don't want it too tight or too loose. And then continue. Okay, so there you have it. Your forward pass with your color changes. So same as every other row, we're going to go and we are going to close those stitches. So continuing with the black, yarn over, go through 1, yarn over, go through 2 across. Drop and pick up your taupe. And each time when I pick it up, I always just pull it snug just a little bit. It's completely normal with those color changes that it's going to get loose and loopy. Okay, switch, grab our black, pull it snug. I do find with all these yarn changes, now that I say it, they rarely get tangled. They get twisted, they get wrapped around, but they don't usually get tangled in knots, which is nice. Okay, drop that, pick up your taupe, and then finish those last 7 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to pull these tight so we can see. Tighten those. Okay, so that is our 6th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and our first row of that color change in that checkerboard pattern. So you're just going to continue this process. Each square should be 7 stitches across in 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as long as my gauge is matching up with your gauge from the pattern. So do make sure you checked your gauge before starting. With this pattern, it is important. I know it may not seem like it is because it's just a bag, but the reason it's important is because of that zipper. If your gauge is off, it is not going to fit that zipper properly, and you will notice that when it comes to that step. So go ahead, reference your pattern, and work up this whole front panel. You're going to work this up and then tie off and weave in those loose ends, and then you're going to follow the same exact process for the back panel. Now the back panel does have a different number of squares, and the color combination is a little different. This one we started with a taupe on the left, the other one we're going to start with a black on the left, so it matches up right when we construct the bag. So work up these 2 panels, and then I'll meet back up with you. I've completed my front panel piece and my back panel piece. You'll see at the very end, I'm going to finish off with slip stitches. So at the very last row, you'll go under the vertical bar just like you have been, but then you'll slip stitch and just trim off and weave in those loose ends. It gives a really nice clean edge on that side, which we're going to utilize later. And this is what your back will look like. So you will see some floats, as you see right there and over here, but really it looks really clean and they're minimal. We're not floating them all the way across our panel, which looks really nice. So we've done the most difficult part, and now we're on to the easy part, which is the bottom of the bag. So for the bottom of the bag, we're just going to be working in the camel yarn, which I've been calling taupe, but it's actually camel. You're going to make a slip knot. And then you're going to chain 7. Okay, same as before. That first loop on your hook acts as the first stitch. We're going to go in each chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So we will have a total of 7 loops on our hook. If you've made it through the checkerboard pattern, this is easy sailing here on out. All right, 7 loops on the hook, and we're just going to close those just like before. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across. Okay, that's our foundation row. And now we are just going to continue doing Tunisian Simple Stitch across. No color changes. If you prefer to work this in black, you want a black bottom, you can. I chose the taupe for the bottom and the straps, but if you want to switch it and do black, that's fine as well. Okay, so just follow your pattern, reference your PDF, and work the indicated numbers of rows for your bottom piece of your bag. Same thing I had indicated on the checkerboard. When you've come to the end of your last row on your bottom panel, you're going to want to leave this last loop on your hook, but now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch across the top and down that left side. So go under this vertical bar just as if you would do if you were doing a simple stitch. You're going to yarn over, pull through, and continue to pull through as if it's slip stitch. Same thing, just slip stitch going under that vertical bar across the top of that panel. When you get to your corner stitch, chain 1, that helps pivot to come down, turn, and just come right down that left side and do a slip stitch in each stitch down. Now you do not need to do the slip stitch on the right side, and I'm going to show you why. Because the right side already looks like it has that nice decorative edge. That happens from starting, but this left side looks a little plain, and sometimes also can even be more stretched out. It can be more stretched out on this side and a little bit tighter on the right side. Sometimes people will actually do a Tunisian knit stitch in that last stitch to kind of short up and match this side, but I like to do a slip stitch across the top and then just slip stitch all the way down, and that'll give a really nice look. It'll short up and it'll give a nice trim that'll come in handy when we're attaching this bottom panel to the bag. So come all the way down and then tie off and weave in those loose ends on that bottom panel. After finishing our bottom panel, we're going to go to our short strap. Take your taupe yarn, make a slip knot on your hook, and for the short strap, we're going to start out chaining 9. Okay, and now we're going to go and we're going to continue the Tunisian Simple Stitch. So we, for this, are actually going to try and grab the back bar right here. Just because it's in the taupe, it's a little bit easier to see, and there's only a few stitches, so I don't mind doing it. and pull up a loop. It'll kind of give a little bit nicer of an edge to sew to the bag once we're done. A little bit trickier to get those, but since it's only 9 stitches, we're going to work it out. Okay, and you have your first 9 for your forward pass. We're just going to close those just like we've been doing every other round. Yarn over, go through 1, and yarn over, go through 2 across. Okay, so we're going to do a total of 3 more rows of the Tunisian Simple Stitch. I've just finished 4 rows of the Tunisian Simple Stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first row right here being the foundation row. So now going on to the 5th row, this is for the short strap. We normally would go under this first vertical bar. We're actually going to go under the first 2, and we're going to Tunisian Simple Stitch 2 together. So we're going to decrease by going under 2, yarn over, and pull up a loop. We're going to do a regular simple stitch in the next 3, and then we are going to simple stitch the next 2 together, doing a decrease right there, and then 1 more simple stitch in that last loop. So that will reduce it. You should have 7, 2, 4, 6, 7 loops on your hook, and then just go ahead and close like you normally would. So for the next 2 rows, row 6 and row 7, you're just going to do a regular simple stitch in each stitch across. For the 8th row, we're going to do another decrease. So go under those first 2 vertical bars. We're going to simple stitch those together. Simple stitch under the next 1. And then again go under the next 2, doing a Tunisian Simple Stitch 2 together, and then simple stitch in that last loop. That should give us 5 loops on our hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then close like normal. Okay, so we're not going to be doing any more decreases. We're going to stick with 5 stitches for the remainder of the strap. So just continue your rows across, reference your pattern, and do your indicated numbers of rows for the short strap. And then I'll meet back up with you for that slip stitching edge trimming. When you finish the last row of the short strap, you're going to keep this loop on your hook, and you're going to go ahead and we're just going to slip stitch across the top and down this left side. It gives a nice edge finish. And you'll probably notice as well that the left side is a little bit more distorted. It seems a little bit more stretched out as opposed to the right side. And that's because the right side has this nice edge finish. A lot of times people will do a Tunisian knit stitch on the left side to kind of make that look a little nicer and decorative. That is an option. I like to just come back after and do a slip stitch, and that will short up. It'll make it look even and it'll look really nice. So just slip stitch right across the top. When you get to that corner, just chain 1 to help you pivot, and then continue down that left side of the short strap. I've finished doing my slip stitches across the top and down the left side. You can see it really makes it look nice. It matches this right edge, makes it look really clean and shores it up. Before that, sometimes that left side can get kind of stretched out. And when I trim this off, I do like to leave a long yarn tail. This will come in handy when we're attaching the short strap to the bag. So go on to your long strap. It's going to be the exact same process. We're going to start with 9 stitches. You're going to have the same decreases, but obviously you're going to do a lot more rows creating that long strap. But just follow your pattern, do all your rows. When you're done, same thing, do your slip stitches across the top and down that whole left side of that long strap. So I've finished all my panels and I'm ready to start constructing the bag. I have my front panel and my back panel. And I want to point out I have blocked these. You'll notice with the Tunisian crochet it has a tendency to curl. So I have blocked these with a steamer. I do suggest you do that before getting started. You don't have to, but it does make it easier. But if you see my pieces are a lot flatter than yours, that's why. So I also have the bottom of the bag, which is the bottom panel. We have our short strap. And then, let's see, so have a long strap. And you'll see I like to leave long yarn tails on a lot of these just for the construction of the bag. It just reduces the amount of ends we have to weave in later. So if I leave it kind of long, we can use that to sew to the bag. So this is the exciting part where we start constructing our bag and seeing it come together. We're going to be starting with the front panel and the back panel to start with. So the very first thing you want to do is orientate yourself with the top and the bottom. So as we constructed these, we worked vertically, but we're actually going to turn them sideways for the bag. So if you look at the side, the edges, so this edge right here, you can see has this nice chain looking edge trim. The other side is not as nice. That would be the side of our Tunisian Simple Stitch. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, sometimes people will do a Tunisian knit stitch in this last stitch to give a little bit of a tighter stitch and a fancier stitch. We kept that Tunisian Simple Stitch, so you'll see it will look a little different, not as nice. We want to look at this where our chains are, where it looks like a chain. This is going to be the top of the bag, and these are going to go up right against the zipper, so it's going to give a really nice finished look. So find the top edge of your back piece, which is a smaller piece, and the top edge of your front, which is the longer piece. So you're going to want to make sure that those stay at the top, and then you're going to match these up. So your front and your back. So we're going to overlap the front on top of the back a little bit, because on the front we have this nice edge trim where we did the slip stitches and changed the color so it has a nice finish. And this is where we started on the back, which is all the taupe color, and it's just that chain, so not too decorative. So we're going to overlap this a little bit. We want it to be kind of like that. So we're going to take our tapestry needle and our scrap yarn. You can do black, you can do taupe, it doesn't matter. I didn't end up leaving a yarn tail on these, so I'm cutting a new one. And you're just going to want to stitch these together at the side, and like I said, slightly overlapping like this. So when you're done, it just gives a really nice finished look. So what I have found to work best for this is to turn this, and we're going to be going in under these back bars right here. If you can see that, this is where we're going to be stitching under. And because if we go under these bars here, we're going to still have that nice trim on the front that we're not distorting or covering up. So if you can kind of turn it, there's our nice chain on the front. Turn it to the back, and these bars are what we're going to be going on for the front, right under, right there. And then for the back piece, we're not going to be going under right here. That would seem intuitive, but it just pulls like this, and it looks gappy, and it doesn't look that nice. So when we attach it to the back piece, we're going to catch these, they were the vertical bars we're working into, just like when we're doing that simple stitch. So we're going to catch that back bar of the front and then go under these bars right here and pull that snug, and that should attach it really nicely. So we're going to be starting right down here at the very bottom. So I'm going to flip it to the back, And I am going to grab right here, this one that's kind of loopy. The ends are a little bit trickier, but it'll be okay. So go under that one. I'm going to leave a little bit of a yarn tail on the end, just because once I am done stitching, if I see the ends need an extra stitch or two, I can just use this yarn tail, thread my tapestry needle, and put an extra stitch or two in there. So I'm going to leave that with a little bit of length. And then I'm going to catch this first vertical bar right there on the edge. Come through. I'm going to leave these a little bit loose just so you can see, and then I'll pull them tight. So turning this to the back, I'm just going to go right under that horizontal bar. And then come to this one and under that vertical bar, the one that you should be really familiar with by now, the same one you would have gone under for the Tunisian Simple Stitch. Horizontal bar right there. And the vertical bar just going under that right there. You do want to make sure when you're doing this that your lines, your seam lines for those squares match up so it looks really nice and clean. So if you get there and they don't quite match up, no big deal, just undo your stitching and redo it. And under that vertical bar, I'm going to go ahead and pull these tight now, just so you can see. Right like that. So this should be pulling tight, and this nice edge is going to overlap that chain right there. Sometimes at the edge right there, it looks a little sloppy, not quite right. Don't worry about that, because like I said, you can come back, thread your tapestry needle with this, and hit a couple extra stitches to really secure that on that edge. So just continue this. See, going under that horizontal bar, and then the vertical. And then when you get to those, like I said, make sure they match up real well. Those look good. And then just continue your stitching all the way up that edge. When you finish this one, go ahead and do the other to the other side. You're going to seam those sides together as well, creating that loop. And then we're going to work it to the zipper. I'm going to show you how to attach the bag to the zipper. So work this up, and then I will catch back up with you after we have both of those side seams of the bag sewn together. So I've finished sewing the side seams together. Looking at it right now, this is your back and this is your front. So your front is bigger, it will wrap around. And these ones right here, this vertical line of these 4 squares, this is the side of your bag. So it'll kind of be like this when it attaches to the zipper. Same way on this side, this will be the side of your bag. And that ends up making those 2 side seams on the back so you don't even see them. So the next step is going to be to attach our zipper. So turning it to the front like this, you'll come, and remember the nice top chain stitches are on the top. That's what's going to attach to your zipper. So right here we see that seam. We're going to come one over to the right here, and we're going to put a straight pin, just marking it. Okay, same thing on the other side. We find that seam, and we're going to come one to the left and put a mark, a stitch pin marking it. So those are for your zipper placement. So right there, you're going to take your zipper. Here's our purse zipper, and I want the zipper pull on this side, on the left side, looking at it. I am going to open it up because it makes it easier to work with, and then come to that first pin on the left side. So as this zipper is open, you see this top zipper stop right there. We're going to take this pin, which the pin is marking that seam where that color transition is, and we want that seam to be just about 1/8 of an inch before that zipper stop. So right there, and then I'm going to take out that pin and just pin it to the zipper. So if you can see right there is our top zipper top, and our seam is just about 1/8 of an inch to the right before we hit it. Come to the end of the zipper. I'm going to zip it a little bit and find the other straight pin. And the same thing, this transition line, where you transition from the taupe to the black, that seam line, we're going to want right before that bottom zipper stop. Do that and pin that right down to that zipper tape. So then from there, you can see it should be a pretty close to perfect fit for your zipper. So just go along and pin these with straight pins. You want the bag to match up pretty close to that zipper. We're going to stitch it pretty close. We don't want it so close that the zipper is going to get stuck, but we do want it pretty close where it matches pretty flush to those zipper teeth. We have that nice edge right there. It's going to look really nice. Just pin this right across. And what I have found easier is to first stitch this down, then work the other side. Having this open makes it a little bit easier. Right here at the front, you'll see the front of that zipper tape kind of flapping. So turn it to the inside like this. And we want it to kind of just come down like that. You don't want that top zipper stop to get tucked in the bag, but just kind of transition like that. And you can put a pin in there, and we can just tack that down when we stitch it with a couple stitches, just to kind of keep that transition. This is what it'll look like from the outside. So you see that top zipper stop, but then it'll just transition down. So we are going to start at the very bottom of our zipper down here, and you'll do the same thing with the zipper tape down there. Just kind of tuck it down. So you're going to get your sewing needle and thread, just regular black sewing thread, and thread that needle. I like to double it up so it's 2 threads like this. And I'm going to start right at the bottom of our zipper. So I want to start right down here attaching the bag to the zipper tape. I have my thread doubled up and I tied a little knot at the end. So what you want to do is just come to the back and come right through. So as we talked about, these stitches are right up against those zipper teeth right there, and we're going to be going up and down, going right under right here. We want these chain stitches to show on the top because they look really nice and clean. But right here, if we just come up and down around those bars, our thread's going to get tucked under. You're not going to see it. And then you're going to have that nice edge right there, and your zipper should still be able to slide without those stitches in the way. So pull that through. Let's see, the black is a little tricky to see. And then just go back down. You don't have to be an expert sewer. You don't really have to have any experience. It's pretty easy. You're just going to come up kind of close to the top, but making sure you don't catch those top chain stitches. Those top 2 loops we want there showing. You can see it right there because I have it pinned. I'm just going to go down right there and pull out the pins as you go. Once you get a little ways down, you're going to want to stop and slide your zipper a little bit and make sure that you're not doing it so tight to the zipper that it's keeping your zipper from sliding. We want a nice slide. We don't want it catching on those stitches. I'm kind of, if you see, lifting up that front loop with my nail so I can kind of tuck that thread underneath. I really don't want this stitch line to show. So if I kind of take my nail and just lift it up a little bit, and I can make sure my thread goes right under and is hidden. So now we have a couple stitches in there. I can take my slide and just slide it. That's looking really nice. Look how close those are to the zipper, but it's not obstructing it from sliding, which is exactly what we want. So just continue this, stitching all the way across to the other side. And then I will show you how to pin the other side, and we'll keep stitching all the way around. But really take your time. It's not that hard. You don't have to have expert sewing skills. Just come up and go down. And like I said, it helps if you take your nail, lift it, and tuck that thread under just to really conceal that stitch line. So just continue this across the front of your bag, and I'll catch up with you and show you how to do the rest of the zipper. So I finished stitching the zipper to the front piece. You can see it looks really nice and clean. These stitches come right up to the zipper teeth. And I know it was kind of tricky to show you. I'll show you again on the back. But when you do that with the sewing thread and needle, you're going to be wanting to go right under these stitches here. And you can't even see them. If you kind of lift it with your nail, you're going to catch right under there. It encloses it really nice. It brings these stitches right up to the zipper teeth for this nice edge finish. Make sure that you are testing it along the way, making sure that your zipper opens and closes smoothly, that you're not catching any of those stitches. So now we are ready to go and sew the zipper to the other side. And I find it easier to leave the zipper open. You can do it either way. So go ahead and turn it to the back side. And we're going to be doing the same thing. So we're going to start right here at the top of the zipper. And right here at that side seam where you can see where you sew them together. And just right there at that seam where the two colors meet, we're going to put right about 1/8 inch over from that top zipper stop. Just pin that to that zipper tape. Now we're going to come to the end. This one's a little bit trickier because it's attached. The same idea. We are going to take this seam right here, same where the colors meet. You can see that side seam. And it's going to come right to the top of that bottom zipper stop right there. So we're going to put it right there and get a straight pin in there. And you can see from the top, it's going to look really nice. Once we're done stitching this across, we can take our needle and thread and tack it a couple places. Just that zipper tape inside at the end of the zipper, we want to make sure it doesn't pop out right there. But see, it's really nice and flush and encloses it really nice. The zipper comes to each end. And now that we have both of those ends tacked with our straight pins, we're just going to work our way across, just like we did the front, and just pin this to our zipper tape. And it should fit pretty perfectly. So this is a perfect example right here of why it's so important to do that gauge swatch before starting. Because if you're, you know, a 1/2 inch longer, a 1/2 inch shorter, it is really going to matter. I know it seems like, oh, this is a bag, it's not a big deal. But when you go to attach it to your 9-inch zipper, it's not going to match up. You can work with it a little bit, but you might end up with more gaps. You know, if it's too long, you'll have these bigger gaps at the end, which isn't ideal. You really want the zipper coming to the very end of the bags. So do make sure that you guys take the time to do that gauge swatch. So now that those are pinned, oh, and same thing right here, this zipper tape right in front, we're just going to tuck down. So we don't want to tuck this piece so it's hidden, but once we have it pinned, we can just tuck that tape down right there, and we'll tack it with a couple stitches when we're in there sewing it. So I'm going to be starting with a new thread, 2 threads thickness, so I'm going to double it up. I tie a little knot at the end. I'm just going to start, I'll probably catch right here to kind of start with the end of that zipper tape. You can just tack that down, and really it's nice the black's right here because you don't see it at all. Just go back in kind of close to where you came in, tacking that down. I might catch a couple places just to make sure. that stays down. Then we're going to come right over and start, same thing we did before. We're just going to come right along those stitches right there and tuck them under. So I'm going to come up right about there, if you can see that. And just go right back down, just catching one of those yarns. Just enough to tack it, pull tight, and you won't even see it. Coming up right there. And like I showed you before, you can kind of lift these with your thumbnail if you really want to tuck it in there. Just go like stitch over and pull it tight, and it'll just get really well enclosed. And same thing as the front. You'll want to be testing that zipper as you go, making sure you're not doing your stitches too high that your zipper is getting caught on it. You want it to have a nice slide. So make sure you do that. Just work your stitches all the way across, and then I'll catch up with you at the very end. And we'll go on to attaching our bottom of the bag. So I've completely got my zipper sewn in on the front and the back side. It's looking really nice. It comes to both ends just like we want it. And now it's time to sew on the bottom panel piece. So on the ends where your zipper pull is, this column right here, that's your side of the bag. Same as at the end of your zipper, this column is the side of your bag. So this is your bottom panel pieces, these being the ones that will match up with the sides I just pointed out. So the easiest way to probably do this is to first find that vertical column right there at the side piece, and we're going to be matching wrong sides to wrong sides. So with the right sides out, and just throw one pin in there. Turn it to the other side. Same thing, you find your end of your zipper, here's your side column, and just throw in one pin. I have that long yarn tail I left. That's what you're seeing there from when I constructed that bottom panel, just for sewing that together. So now, open this up. This side is going to match up with this part of the bag, and this one with the other side. So that's how your bottom's going to look. I find it easier than pinning all the way around. You certainly can do that, to just do one at a time because of this pivot here. So since we know this goes here, I'm just going to pull that out and pivot this to right there. And we're going to start just doing this longer side. Same with this one. We're going to pivot this corner to this corner. We'll come back and do those sides. So match that up. And now it makes it a little easier and flatter to work with like this. So you have your panel, and we're just going to use our straight pins and pin that along here. Again, we have the right sides facing out. It's going to be pretty easy to stitch together this way. And we're using that yarn tail and our tapestry needle. It's going to be a lot quicker than with the sewing thread and the sewing needle. Okay, so once we have those pinned, we're going to put our tapestry needle on that yarn tail, and it's starting right with this corner right here. So that's where we're going to start. I'm going to pull out this. So I'm going to show you, when we are stitching these together, we're going to keep them pinched like this. And what we're going to be going under, it's a little hard to see in the black, but I'm going to show you. Right here, there's a horizontal bar right here. Right there. Those are the ones we're going to be catching. So we'll catch these, and then subsequently we're going to catch this third bar on this side, these horizontal ones right there. So it's going to be right there, right there, and right there. So in doing that, we'll still have this nice visible chain edging that we're not going to distort. So we're going to start right here at that corner. This first one's a little tricky. Just going to get that started. Okay, so we are going to go under this horizontal bar here, And then I just bend this down so I can see it. That third back loop horizontal bar right there. And pull tight. Horizontal bar, catching that, and then the back horizontal bar, or third back loop, whatever you'd like to call it, on that one. Pull it tight. Just continue that. And I'll show you after a few stitches what that's going to look like. It's kind of easy because we can just pinch those tight. You know, we can open it up like this to see them if that's fun. Makes it easier for you to see those stitches. Right there. So by catching those, it gives a nice secure seam, but when you open it up, you still have that nice edging right there. It's not going to distort, which is going to come right there to the bottom of the bag. It's going to look really nice. So continue to work that, just pinching that together. If you open it up, it's easier. Get that horizontal bar and that horizontal bar. Just do this all the way around. And then when we get to that side where we pivot, I'll meet back up with you and we'll do that one together. I've just finished that last stitch right there in the side. So we're coming to this side of the bag right here. So this is where we're going to pivot. So we're just going to turn it a little bit like this and just turn this panel right here, matching those two up. I'm going to repeat the same process we've been doing. So we kind of just look right here. We want to make sure we catch the corner. Right here, it kind of looks like we go to the step, but then there'd be a gap there. So make sure we're catching this corner one right here. And pull that tight. Now just doing the same thing, that horizontal bar right there, and the horizontal bar on that bottom panel. Make sure you're pulling that really snug at the corner. And we're just going to work this across that side piece. There we go. And right there, we're going to pivot again, but I always encourage you to do a couple right at the corner to kind of make sure there's not a gap hole in the corner. Okay, so we have that. Now we can pivot this way, and we're going to go right over and start working the bottom panel to the back side. And if you want to pin this, it's not a bad idea, just to make sure you don't get here and then you end up having a lot of slack in one of these, that it's distributed evenly. You can certainly do that. I would suggest it. So come to the side, you know this corner is going right here. So just throw a straight pin in there. This one's pretty much attached, so then we can just pin these down, making sure it's even. There we go. Then we're just going to work the same process, going in that back horizontal bar of each side, working those together. So work up this other side. When you get to the other, work up this long side, which is the back. Keep saying side, and then you'll work up your short side right here. That'll be your last one. You can tie it off and weave in those ends. And then we will be going on to the straps. But you see on this how nice that first one looks. It just gives a really nice finish. It looks really clean. You see that nice trimming. So that's the look we're going for. So our bag's really starting to come together. We have the top zipper sewn in. Now we have the bottom panel sewn in. Looks really nice on those edges. So now we're going to go and work on the straps. So first we're going to be starting with our short strap. So this is our short strap here, and then our parachute buckle. We just need this side of the parachute buckle, the female side. And what we're going to do is find the top. So yours might be a little different. You can see this is the back, this is the front. There's a slight curve right here. So this is the top of our buckle. We're going to take, this is also the front side of our short strap. So just weave this down into that buckle like this. Overlap it about an inch, just like that. You can take a couple straight pins, just pin that right there, and we're just going to stitch that down. So I'm going to come around like this. I'm going to work around these stitches, just tacking it, and then I'm going to come and tack it right down there. You don't have to if you don't want to, but that'll keep it from kind of moving around that buckle. I want it to really stay in place. So it's up to you. If you just want to tack this down right here, that's fine. This buckle will be able to move a little bit within that area. If you want to really stay in place, I suggest doing another stitch line right there. So for this one, this yarn tail I left, it's pretty long, and I'm going to use this one to stitch it to the back. So we're going to leave that one alone, but I'm just going to cut another one of scrap yarn using our big tapestry needle. And I'm actually going to take these out for a second, just so I can weave in my tail. So instead of doing a knot on the inside, I'm just going to weave this in on the back side. A little bit like that to enclose that yarn. Go through that same stitch just to lock it in a little bit, and then we're ready. Pin that back down. Then I'm just going to take my tapestry needle and go along the edges of these stitches. And since we're using the taupe yarn, the same color, it's just going to hide it well. You're not going to notice it. So you don't have to be too extremely particular. I'm just going to come around this top edge, catching right under those stitches. And work my way around. When you're done stitching that down, just go ahead and tie off and trim in that end. And this is what it should look like from the front, nice and clean. So now we're ready to use this long yarn tail to attach it to the bag. So looking at your bag, the front, you could have done your zipper either way, but this is the way we did it on ours. So at the top of the zipper, this side is where you want your short strap, where the top of the zipper is. I do like to open this to work with it because it makes it a little bit easier, but we know we want the short strap on this side. So we're going to turn it to the back where we see that seam, and we're going to have the strap right to the front of it. So open it up a little bit. If you open it up like this, it makes it a little bit easier to work with. Open that zipper, take your short strap and turn it this way so you have the wrong side facing you and the right side facing the bag. So right side of the bag facing right side of the strap, and put it right there. We want it matched up right along that seam edge where you did that side seam of the bag, just like that. Take a few straight pins and just pin that just so it stays in place. I'm going to pin it more down on the strap part so they don't get in the way. So here's our yarn tail we left. So we're going to stitch it right down here. There's several different ways you can do it, but I'm going to show you the way that I think works best and looks the best. If it doesn't work for you, go ahead and improvise. So here my yarn tail is coming off of the end. And this one's kind of hard, but I'm going to grab, remember before we did those back loops, those horizontal bars, we're going to do the same thing because from this side, we have that nice chain look. We don't want to distort that, so we don't want to grab like those loops at all. So we're going to be working with these horizontal bars again, just like earlier in the bag right there. We're going to stitch this. We're going to take our time because we want it to be stitched really well. It needs to be sturdy because it is the strap of the bag. So go through the first one. It doesn't really look like a horizontal bar, but right here. And instead of hitting the same thing, we don't want to hit these loops because we want to keep that nice chain look. So we're going to kind of pull it back a little bit. We're going to go under those bars, same as when we were doing the Tunisian Simple Stitch, that bar right there. So just go through that and then pull it tight right at your corner. We're going to hit every single horizontal bar right there. Like I said, you have to open it up a little bit, but then you can see right there. See that bar? We're just going to catch it just like that. So we're not going to hit those loops there. And just pull nice and tight. Just take your time. You really do want to make this sure this is secure. And pull that nice and stuck. Okay, again, horizontal bar there. And once you get a couple, you can take out the pin if it helps you. So you can pull this away. The black ones are harder to see, but same thing. Grab that horizontal bar and pull tight. We'll work this all the way across, attaching that short strap. When we get to the end, we do want to make sure that corner is nice and secured because we don't want it pulling away. It doesn't look very good when those corners are pulling away off of the bag. Okay. We might do a couple extra just at the end, like I said, just to make sure it's nice and secure. Before we tie this off, we can open it up and look to make sure. So when you turn it, because this is going to be your front, this is going to be your back, so this will be the right side. So that's the look we're going for. We see that nice edge trim, looks nice and clean, and then when you turn it, you also see that nice edge trim of that seam. So everything looks nice and clean. From the front, here's the front of the bag. This is what you're seeing. So you're just seeing that strap come off. Looks really good. So that's what we want to do. Check your ends. I might go back and throw one more stitch right there. See at the corner, it's a little loose. I do want that nice and secure. So I might take another scrap piece of yarn and just tack that one more time right in the corner. This corner seems pretty good. It looks nice and flush, attached really well. And I will take this just right inside the bag, and then I will tie it off and weave in those loose ends inside, so you don't even see it. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and work one more stitch, just tacking that a little bit better on the bottom, and then we'll meet back up and work the other strap on the other side. Now we're going to be working on our long strap. Right here you can see that long edge, that wide edge that we're going to be attaching to the bag, and then the other end is where we're going to start. So just pull that other end to right in front of you. Have right side facing up. Get your parachute buckle, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to weave it through. Now this one has 2 slots to weave it up and down, but my buckle's a bit tight, so I'm just going to put it right through here. Just going to weave it in once, and depending on what type of buckle you get, you might choose to do it differently, and that's fine. This one just happens to be a little bit tighter. So I'm going to pull that a little ways through, It doesn't matter how much, because the whole point of this is it's going to be adjustable. We're going to have this buckle and a slide so we can adjust it. So just pull it through a little bit so we have something to work with. And then you're going to take your buckle slide. So we're going to go in this middle bar here. We're going to go ahead and stitch this end to this middle bar, the slide. So what I'm going to do is just get my tapestry needle and some scrap yarn of the camel. I'm going to take the end, the one I pulled through the buckle. I'm just going to line it right up here to that buckle slide, the middle of that slide. This doesn't have to be perfect. It's really not even going to show that much. And we're just going to stitch it around this metal piece. So first I'm just going to go and insert to get it started. Instead of tying a knot, just going to slide it through like this to hide my yarn tail. I'm going to go back in through that same stitch just to lock it in place. And now I'll be ready to stitch. So again, it's a short end coming out of your buckle. I'm going to pick that up. And I'm just going to stitch that right around this metal bar in the middle. You don't have to make sure it looks pretty, you just really need to get it attached well because it's going to be hidden in your strap. So I'm just going to go in, out, catching the end of my strap and that metal bar. Once you have that nice and attached to that middle bar, just take it and weave it in and trim off that loose end. So it doesn't need to be pretty, just it needs to be really secured around that bar. Okay, so this is what it should look like that. And now we're going to go ahead and work the rest of the slide. So now we have our buckle end on, and now we want to slide this a little bit more. And keeping this straight, we don't want to twist it. Keeping it straight, bring it all the way to your wide end. Remember, this is the end that attaches to your bag. It is a little bit wide, but it'll be just fine. We're going to take this slide that we just did, and we're going to weave this up and through here. See, it fits just fine. And then down right through the next one. Just pull that through gently. And it'll pull right through. And then we can work that slide down. And pull this through. Now I've got my yarn tail getting caught up in there. I should have paid more attention to that. Let's get that out of there. There we go. And pull through. So there you have it. Now you have your slide. So now your strap is adjustable. And there's where we attached right there. So really you can't see it. That's why I wasn't too concerned about making it look that pretty. We just really want it secure because that one will always stay right there. And this is what is going to slide to adjust that strap length. So right now I'm just going to leave it right here. We can adjust it later when it's attached to the bag to where we want it for length. So now our strap is good and we're ready to go and attach it to the bag. So we have this long yarn tail I left from constructing a strap, and that's what we're going to use to attach it to the bag. So now we're ready to attach our long strap to our bag. It's going to be super easy as it's the same process as we did over here on this strap. So go ahead and just take the end of your strap and you're going to turn it because we want right side of the strap facing right side of the bag. So just turn that right over like this, and then you can pin it. We're going to have it right on the left side of that seam line for the side seam that we made. I'm not going to film all this because it's the same process. But same as the other side, you're just going to be catching those back horizontal bars on the strap. And then on this, we're going to be catching those bars right here, the vertical bars that we did in the Tunisian Simple Stitch. So we're really familiar with those bars. So we're just going to catch those bars. And then this horizontal third bar back here, just stitch that up and fasten off. And then we will be ready for the lining, which is our very last step of the bag. When you finish sewing that in, you can see it has that nice trim showing there, just like the other side, which we want. And then you have the nice trim there in the front. So turning it to the front, it looks really nice on both sides, which is exactly what we want for that nice finished look. So now you have your whole strap done. You have your slide buckle right here, so you can adjust the length. So stick with me, and we're going to go on to our last step, which is lining the bag. If you like it as it is, great. But it's a pretty simple step just to give it that final finishing touch. You do have some floats in here that could catch, you know, if you didn't line it. Not a huge deal. But we'll go on and do that quick lining, and you'll be all done with your bag. So for your bag lining, reference your pattern to cut your 100% cotton fabric to the appropriate size. Once you have that, you're going to have it long ways and then fold it right in half. And what we're going to do is you can use a machine, you can hand stitch it if you don't like sewing or know how. You can also utilize fabric glue, but we're going to do a seam right here at a 1/2 inch and a seam right here at a 1/2 inch. I've chosen to use a machine stitch at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Normally I would do this in black thread, but I didn't want to do it in the taupe color just so you can see it better on camera. Other side as well. Now take your iron and press that seam open. So you're going to want to take and press the seam allowance open like this. Once you've pressed those seams open, you're going to turn it to the side like this. You'll see that seam nice and pressed open. And right there at the top, at that top point, measure down 3/4 of an inch. So you're measuring on the seam that you made right there, and place a pin at 3/4 of an inch. So right here, you're going to want to sew either machine stitch, hand stitch, or fabric glue right along this line, right where my straight pin is. I'm kind of putting it in there. So right where you see that pin, you're going to stitch right across. And then you're going to do it the same thing to the other corner. So this is how you want your stitches to go, right across that triangle on both sides. And so if you open it up like this and turn it inside out, you can see how that is going to form the bottom of our bag, kind of give a bottom platform right there. Instead of cutting more panels of the fabric, we have minimal stitches, and it still gives that shape. But it's actually going to insert like this into the bag, so these seams are facing the bag and they're hidden. So the next thing we do is go ahead and fold this top at a 1/2 inch and press it all the way around, and then we will have a nice clean edge to hand stitch to the inside of the bag. Once you've pressed down all the way around to create that seam allowance on the top edge, you're ready to insert this into the bag. So the first thing is to take the side seam right here you made, and you can see it, and match it up with the other side seam. And I like to just fold it like this and then put a pin. I'll show you why in just a second, but this really helps. Do the same thing, match up those side seams, fold it over, right the half. So right here, what you're doing is marking the side of that panel. So right here where your lining is, that's going to be the middle. So we're going to match that up with the bag, which is going to make it easier. So now we have our bag. We're going to insert this right inside. So we want to keep the seams on the outside because they will be sandwiched inside, and then you'll have this nice finish edge for the lining. So just insert this right into your bag. Just kind of stuff it in there. And then start right here. Let me turn it. Right there, open it up where you see those zipper teeth right there. So find one of those side seams, it doesn't matter which, right there that you stitched or glued, either one, and put it right there and pin it down. Now these we do want to have a little bit lower than the zipper teeth, because when we pull that zipper, we don't want to get it caught in the lining or the stitching, which can happen pretty easily. So make sure you don't do it too close to those zipper teeth. So next we can just turn our bag, and right here this pin, one of the pins we marked, is marking the side of that. So if we turn it, we know that this square right here is our middle square. So you just find the center of that, and that's where we know this is going to match up. And once we have that, then we can just go around and distribute this across and pin it, that lining right there. Like I said, make sure you put it down almost 1/4 inch from those zipper teeth, because they can get caught. You don't want that to happen. And then just do the same thing. So this seam is going to be the other side panel right here on the other end of your zipper. Probably is going to be easier if you turn it inside out like this. It will be a little bit trickier here, but you don't have to be perfect. You can just tack it in a couple places right at the end, because the end's going to get kind of tucked in there, more so than this end. And then you can continue pinning this side and then hand stitching it. So I'm going to choose to use a sewing needle and thread to hand stitch it. You obviously would not want to machine stitch it, because you don't want those stitches showing on the outside of your bag, but you could just fabric glue it, and that's fine too. So at this point, you're probably excited just to have your bag done and you're over it. If you decide, hey, I'm just going to glue that in, that is fine. So all you're going to want to do, I'm just going to show you quickly, and if you do choose to hand stitch it, is go and you're going to catch right there. This is how I do it. I'm just showing you on this portion. And then I just go along the top. I catch a teeny piece of the zipper tape, and then right there at that edge of the lining, and just pull through. And then I come right down onto the zipper tape, grab a little bit, and top of that lining. I'm making sure not to go through all the way to the other side of the bag. We don't want to see those stitch line. And then come through. So just work that across if you choose to hand stitch it all the way across, and then your bag is complete. I've completely finished sewing in that lining. You can see it looks really nice and clean, but do be careful not to put that too close to the zipper teeth. Otherwise, that zipper slide will get stuck on that when you're zipping your zipper shut. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to comment below. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give a thumbs up and subscribe.